When you look at the national debt that the United States carries, 12 to 15% of that debt is owed to one country, China. And then you have $500 million more that's owed to Russia. And then you have obfuscated numbers that go to the ultra wealthy that are Chinese, are Russian, are Iranian, are Turkish, are Saudi. You could arguably simply not pay those debts, write it off the top line, right off the amount owed, and simultaneously strike an economic blow to your largest adversaries. I'm not altogether unconvinced that that is exactly the strategy that we plan. That when we decide to go to war with East versus West, when we decide to get involved, we're going to do to China what we did to Russia, and we proved that we're willing to do when we sanctioned the actual cash reserves of Russia that was being held in US denominated dollars and European euros. We just took their money. Extrajudicial, not at all allowed. Something that we had NATO sign off on because we control NATO. It was totally illegal in every definition of the word. There's no reason we can't just do that with our national debt. And that's going to reduce us like 25% overnight and defund our enemies from being able to work against us. Will it destroy the US dollar? Arguably, if you're doing it only to your adversaries, maybe not. Maybe that makes your allies even more allied because now you have a massive head start against your enemies. But that is a third way that companies get out of debt. Fisticuffs or?
No, I was like, there's no thing he's going to be able to pull out. You are correct. In terms of being able to change the ratio of debt to GDP, that is the nuclear option because that, there's no guarantees in life. I want to be very clear. I cannot see the future, and it's possible that that works out just fine. It's also possible that 10 years later, we are dropping bombs on each other at a scale never before seen in human history. People do not like it when you fuck with their money.
I agree.
And wowza. Fully concede the point that that is certainly a thing that we can do. Hey, if we want to get crazy, we could also devalue the dollar against gold. And that won't make the world happy either, but that would also have a very big impact on the debt. Okay, the reason that is so dark and I can hear wolves howling in the background is really twofold. One, because it's all too possible that that's on the menu of options. And two, because that is where Ray Dalio has been saying this is all going to go, that we end up in a hot war. And the reason we end up in a hot war is when we lock up China's money and they're in the middle of a crisis, because they are in the middle of a crisis right now. Nothing that the US hasn't seen, and I'm sure they'll be able to inflate their way out of it and all that good stuff. But if the US freezes some ungodly amount of my money and I'm China, I go, oh, really? You want to play? Cool. Taiwan's mine. And now I'm going to see how badly you want these chips in your modern way of life, because you either give me my money back or I'm going in and I'm taking over and I'm cutting off your supply. They are not going to roll over. They are not just going to take it. And this is truly, last time we talked, you said that World War III has already started. That's how World War III goes from what do you mean we're in World War III to downtown LA just got vaporized.
Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, the truth holds today as it's held for our multiple conversations. The future is not happy. We are years away from happy future. We are potentially months away from positive indicators that happiness is coming, but we're not anywhere close to happy yet. And we won't be close to happy for a long time. China won't roll over. Great point, right? Also, when it comes to actual measurable objective facts about China right now, they have the largest military industrial complex in the world when it comes to counts of troops, numbers of active warships, numbers of aircraft, ammunitions at the ready. They surpass us by
ability to make more
by almost 7 times.
Yeah, they are us when Pearl Harbor happened.
So they're not going to roll over because they look at us and they see that we have our senior advisors to the military advising to stop giving weapons to Ukraine and Israel because we are at such a deficit. We don't even know how we would wage a sustained conflict if we were the active participant. So if China were to invade Taiwan militarily, which there's no indications that that is their intention necessarily, but that is one of their options. If they invade militarily, the US is really only going to be able to augment Taiwanese defense capabilities. We won't be able to wage a war on our own, just based on our manufacturing capability and the amount of ammunition, weapons, troops, tanks, ships that we have already built. Chinese shipbuilding is outproducing us. Chinese military training is outproducing us. China is outspending us. And what did we learn from Russia in Ukraine? The whole world sanctioned Russia. How did they keep their economy alive? Wartime economy. Why are, well, France and Germany are fucked right now on their own. But before they fucked themselves with meltdowns in their parliaments, they were the ones warning that if we don't find a way to bring a ceasefire in Ukraine, Russia is going to continue to build its economy on the back of a war. That's exactly how the United States has survived some of our worst times. We had a wartime economy. That's what made Afghanistan, Iraq worth it. That's what made World War II worth it. That's what made the Korean War worth it. That's what made Vietnam worth it, because economies go up. Domestic production goes up. Employment goes up. Tax bases go up when there's a war. China is preparing mentally and fiscally for some kind of conflict. It doesn't have to be with us. It can be with all of its neighbors in the South China Sea for all it cares. But right now, we literally can't wage war. What are we going to do in the future? They're not going to roll over. And to your exact point, they know we're not going to roll over. So you've got these two big fucking dogs staring at each other, growling but not barking yet. And everybody else is walking around being like, oh, they're fine, because there's a mesh fence between them. I don't know what the future holds, but it's not going to be a hard barbed wire fence that makes these two dogs peaceful.
Freedom! So fresh, so new.